In 1992, Hollywood lost one of its most legendary figures, Chuck Connors, a man whose influence stretched far beyond his iconic role as the Rifleman. Chuck's legacy is not only defined by his time on screen, but also by the incredible, sometimes shocking life he led off-screen. From his unexpected involvement in Cold War diplomacy to controversial affairs that nearly derailed his career, Connors lived a life full of drama, intrigue, and surprises that could rival any Western he ever starred in. Now, 30 years later, the full truth comes to light. How a Brooklyn baseball player became a hero to the Soviet Union, the scandalous end to all three of his marriages, and the dark secrets he kept hidden until his death. Chuck Connors was born Kevin Joseph Aloysius Connors on April 10, 1921, in Brooklyn, New York. His parents, Alan and Marcella Connors, were Irish immigrants who worked tirelessly during the hardships of the Great Depression. His father worked as a longshoreman, and his mother took on various small jobs to make ends meet. Though life was difficult, it instilled in Chuck a strong work ethic that would guide him throughout his life. Growing up in a working-class neighborhood, Chuck spent much of his time at the Bay Ridge Boys Club, honing his skills in a variety of sports. Baseball, in particular, was his passion, and he dreamed of one day playing for the Brooklyn Dodgers. At 14, Chuck's athletic abilities caught the attention of scouts, leading to a scholarship to Adelphi Academy, a private high school in Brooklyn. This was a game-changing opportunity, and Chuck embraced it, excelling not just in baseball, but also in basketball, football, and track. By 1939, he had earned a reputation as one of the top high school baseball players in Brooklyn. Upon graduation, Chuck received offers from more than 25 colleges, choosing to attend Seton Hall University in New Jersey. There, he played both basketball and baseball. On the basketball court, he served as a backup center, using his height and defensive skills to help the team, but it was baseball where Chuck truly shined. In 1942, Chuck hit 2 home runs and racked up 6 RBIs in one game, capturing the attention of professional scouts. Chuck's college years were interrupted by World War II. In 1942, he enlisted in the Army and trained at Fort Knox. His athletic skills made him a perfect candidate for tank warfare training, and later, he worked at West Point, where he trained soldiers, including future football stars who went on to win national championships. Even during his military service, Chuck kept close to sports, playing semi-professional baseball in Brooklyn and even joining the American Basketball League as a professional player. After serving 3 years, Chuck was honorably discharged in 1946 and immediately joined the Boston Celtics for their inaugural season, playing forward and center. During his brief time with the Celtics, Chuck played 49 games, with his best performance coming on December 13, 1946, when he scored 15 points against the Providence Steamrollers. However, Chuck's basketball career didn't last. By February 1947, he left the Celtics to pursue his other love, baseball. On May 1, 1949, he got his big break with the Brooklyn Dodgers. Unfortunately, his debut didn't go as planned. He hit into a double play, and the Dodgers lost. Undeterred, Chuck worked his way through the minor leagues, eventually making it back to the majors in 1951 with the Chicago Cubs. That season, he played in 66 games, hitting 2 home runs against the New York Giants and finishing with a batting average of .239. Not bad for someone who had to juggle 2 sports. Chuck Connors' Hollywood story began in the most unlikely way. In 1952, while playing for the Los Angeles Angels, a minor league baseball team, Chuck hit a massive home run during a game against the Sacramento Solons. His power on the field caught the attention of Billy Gordon, a casting director from MGM. Gordon saw something in Chuck's tall, rugged frame and after the game handed him his card, suggesting he consider acting. At first, Chuck wasn't interested. His focus was entirely on baseball. However, a few weeks later, Chuck injured himself in a game. While recovering, he decided to visit MGM out of curiosity. To his surprise, they offered him a screen test, and just 3 days later, Chuck signed his first Hollywood contract. This spontaneous decision would change his life forever. His first role was in the romantic comedy Pat and Mike, starring Spencer Tracy and Katharine Hepburn. Although his part was small, playing a police captain, it was a significant stepping stone for a man just beginning his acting career. Chuck arrived early for filming, nervous but excited. His scene didn't come up until late that night, but when it did, he nailed it in just 2 takes. Spencer Tracy even pulled him aside afterward, telling him, "You've got something. Stick with it." Those words became a source of confidence that pushed Chuck to dive deeper into acting. Chuck took on every role he could find between 1952 and 1958, appearing in over 20 movies. One of his standout performances was in Disney's Old Yeller, 1957, where he played Bern Sanderson. The film's success helped him gain more recognition. He also appeared in films such as Trouble Along the Way with John Wayne and The Big Country, where he acted alongside Gregory Peck and Charlton Heston. These diverse roles helped him hone his craft. In addition to his film work, Chuck made frequent TV appearances, guest starring in 18 different shows during this period. It was rare for actors of the time to balance both film and television, but Chuck's work ethic allowed him to thrive in both mediums. It wasn't until 1958, however, that Chuck Connors became a household name as Lucas McCain in The Rifleman. Initially, he was hesitant to take the role, as it offered less pay than other jobs. But the producers were determined to have him, and they sweetened the deal with more money and a 5% ownership of the show. This convincing offer sealed the deal, and Chuck soon began preparing for the role. He took horseback riding lessons and trained with a gun expert to master the art of spinning a rifle. The physical demands of the role left his hands sore and blistered, but Chuck didn't stop until he perfected the moves. When The Rifleman premiered on September 30th, 1958, it was an instant hit, drawing over 14 million viewers for its debut. Chuck's portrayal of Lucas McCain, a tough yet compassionate father raising his son, Mark, played by Johnny Crawford, became iconic. The father-son relationship became one of the most beloved aspects of the show. The unique Winchester 1892 rifle, which Chuck's character spun with a signature flair, became as famous as the show itself. Winchester even created a similar model for fans. What set The Rifleman apart from other westerns was its focus on family. Unlike most shows of the time that depicted traditional two-parent families, The Rifleman told the story of a single father raising his son alone in the Old West. The challenges Lucas faced, from protecting his son to teaching him valuable life lessons, resonated deeply with viewers, especially single fathers. The show's realistic portrayal of family dynamics helped connect Chuck's character with audiences who appreciated the vulnerability and strength he portrayed. One single father even wrote to Chuck, thanking him for showing that they were not alone in their struggles. Beyond his on-screen performance, Chuck Connors played a crucial role behind the scenes. By the second season, he was actively involved in meetings with the writers, pitching story ideas, and even rewriting dialogue to better suit the character of Lucas McCain. One episode, The Photographer, was inspired by an incident from Chuck's baseball career when an overzealous fan had gone a bit too far. Chuck Connors, known for his iconic role as Lucas McCain in The Rifleman, wasn't just dedicated to portraying a strong, heroic figure. He sought to make McCain a deeply relatable character. Connors intentionally steered away from depicting McCain as a flawless hero, instead pushing for storylines that highlighted his flaws and internal struggles. One such plotline, where McCain accidentally kills an innocent man, was championed by Connors. He believed it was crucial to show the burden of responsibility that came with wielding a rifle. Along with his role in shaping McCain's character, Connors also brought guest stars into the show, including his former baseball teammate, Duke Snider. He also took the time to help up-and-coming actors get their start, including Dennis Hopper, who appeared in the pilot episode. By the final season, Connors had amassed so much influence that he was credited as a story consultant on several episodes and even co-wrote the 2-part series finale, ensuring that all story arcs were tied up and old characters revisited. The success of The Rifleman was nothing short of extraordinary. It premiered on September 30th, 1958, and quickly gained a large following, reaching 14.6 million households with a Nielsen rating of 33.1 in its first season. The show's father-son dynamic, combined with thrilling action sequences, drew in diverse audiences. By February 1959, 78% of viewers tuned in for the emotional family bond, while 92% of men aged 18 to 49 watched for the action. The show's success spilled over into merchandise, with toy rifles, lunchboxes, and comic books generating $2 million in sales within just 3 months of its debut. In addition to commercial success, The Rifleman earned 3 Emmy nominations in its first season and stayed popular throughout its 5-season run, even ranking 27th in its final season. Decades later, reruns of the show still attracted loyal fans. A 2018 MeTV survey revealed it was particularly popular among viewers aged 55 and older. When The Rifleman ended in 1963, Connors found himself facing a career challenge. While his role as Lucas McCain had catapulted him to fame, it also trapped him in the mold of the Western hero. The show's 168 episodes cemented his image in the minds of viewers, and he was often typecast in similar roles. To break free from this pigeonholing, Connors turned down several offers to star in other westerns, rejecting 8 Western TV pilots within just 2 years after The Rifleman concluded. Unfortunately, his strategy to avoid being typecast led to a temporary career slowdown. Connors sought to prove his versatility by taking on very different roles. In 1964, he starred in Move Over, Darling, playing a stiff, formal banker opposite Doris Day and James Garner, a far cry from his rugged Western persona. Unfortunately, this film didn't do much to change the public's perception of him, and casting directors still saw him as Lucas McCain. Even when Connors auditioned for roles outside of the Western genre, directors often said he seemed too Western. Frustrated, Connors contemplated quitting acting altogether and returning to professional sports. However, Connors found new opportunities in TV shows that allowed him to showcase different aspects of his acting talent. In Arrest and Trial, 1963 to 1964, Connors played John Egan, a defense attorney. The show was ahead of its time, with each 90-minute episode split between a detective-led investigation and courtroom drama. Critics praised Connors' polished portrayal of a legal professional, but the series was canceled after just 1 season. In 1965, Connors returned to the Western genre with Branded, but this time he played a more complex character. As Jason McCord, a cavalry officer falsely accused of cowardice and dishonorably discharged, Connors had the opportunity to play a deeply emotional and nuanced role. The show ran for 2 seasons, providing Connors with a chance to explore more layers of his acting. Connors' most impactful performance came in 1977 when he portrayed Tom Moore in the groundbreaking miniseries Roots. This role, where he played a cruel plantation owner, was a dramatic departure from his previous roles. His chilling portrayal of the brutal realities of slavery received critical acclaim, and the series became a cultural phenomenon. The final episode of Roots was watched by around 100 million viewers, and Connors earned an Emmy nomination for his performance, highlighting his ability to tackle challenging, controversial roles. Later in his career, Connors took on roles in B-movies and made guest appearances on popular TV shows. In 1979, he starred in the cult classic horror film Tourist Trap as Mr. Slauson, a creepy museum owner surrounded by sinister mannequins. Though the film wasn't well received initially, it later gained a devoted following. Connors also appeared in shows like Fantasy Island, The Love Boat, Murder, She Wrote, and played a villain in the 1987 to 1988 horror action series Werewolf. Connors' personal life was as dramatic and complex as the roles he played on screen. His first marriage, to model Elizabeth Jane Betty Riddell, seemed perfect at first, but the strain of his rising career took its toll. The couple had 4 sons, but in 1961, Betty discovered that Chuck was having an affair with an actress, leading to their divorce in 1962. Despite the public separation, Betty reportedly demanded Chuck's compliance with certain terms during the divorce in exchange for keeping quiet about the affair. Connors' second marriage in 1963 to actress Kamala Devi, an Indian American, was noteworthy for its rarity in Hollywood at the time. However, their marriage also had its challenges, with Kamala wanting Chuck to pursue more television and film roles. Connors' third marriage in 1977 to actress Faith Quabius, who was 33 years his junior, ended in divorce just 3 years later, with Faith later accusing Connors of being abusive. Connor's personal beliefs also impacted his career. He supported Republican candidates, including Barry Goldwater in the 1964 presidential election, and was a staunch supporter of the Vietnam War, even marching in protests in 1967. His unyielding political views, particularly his stance on the war, caused some friction in Hollywood, but Connors remained steadfast, famously saying, "I'd rather lose a job than give up my principles." One of the more surprising aspects of Connor's career was his popularity in the Soviet Union. During the 1960s and 1970s, The Rifleman was one of the few American shows allowed on Soviet television. The Soviet audience embraced Lucas McCain, admiring his strength and commitment to justice. By 1973, around 250 million Soviet viewers were watching the show, and Connors even participated in a documentary, Peace and Friendship, where he met with Soviet citizens to discuss how Americans and Soviets could get along. Connors' final public appearance in 1991, just before his death, was in a TV movie called The Gambler Returns, The Luck of the Draw, where he briefly reprised his beloved role as Lucas McCain. The film was a hit, and his cameo provided a heartfelt farewell to his iconic character. Sadly, in 1992, Connors was diagnosed with lung cancer, likely a result of his long history of smoking. He kept his illness private for a time, continuing to make public appearances until his health deteriorated. On October 28, 1992, he passed away at Cedars-Sinai Medical Center. In addition to his acting career, Connors made history in sports, being one of only 13 individuals to play in both Major League Baseball, MLB, and the National Basketball Association, NBA. During his time with the Boston Celtics in 1946, he became the first player to break a backboard in a game, a moment that further cemented his legacy as both a sports icon and a television legend.